my name is Hans Verkerk. I'm Principal Scientist, Climate Smart Forestry at the European Forest Institute. I'm working in the bioeconomy program based in Finland, and I'm leading the Climate Smart Forestry team. I have a background in forest resource assessments, where I've been looking at the effects of management and policy and how they affect European forests, both in the past and into the future, and how this affects, for example, availability of wood, carbon balance of carbon storage in forests, as well as ecosystem service and biodiversity. In my work, I've focused quite a long time on how forests can be managed to increase and maximize the contribution of forests to climate change mitigation. I've been doing this for the last 10-15 years, but more recently we also started to look at how wood use can help contribute to climate change mitigation. And in this call, when it arose, we saw there's possibilities to combine these different elements, so to see really what happens within the forest and also what happens with the products. And then discussion started in a small group with a lot of experts involved, and this became a very exciting exercise. So that's why we wanted to develop the proposal. So we all know that forests are affected by climate change, and we need ways forward to mitigate the impacts of climate change, so to prevent these impacts from happening, but also to adapt to the impacts of climate change by managing our forest. At the same time, forests are also very important for biodiversity, so both climate and biodiversity need to be considered together. So within that context, a lot of policies have been developed, but it still lacks information on how we can actually achieve policy targets on climate and biodiversity. And this is exactly what we want to do within the project. So we want to co-design, so together with stakeholders, quantify and evaluate policy pathways that aim to maximize the contribution of forest management and the forest-based sector to climate change mitigation, but also take into account the impacts of climate on forests, as well as to maximize or ensure the provision of important ecosystem services and protect biodiversity. One of the first aspects we want to understand what factors are shaping the decisions that are made by forest practitioners, so owners, managers, and so on, and what is their willingness to take up actions that actually can contribute to climate change mitigation or adaptation. So we understand the factors that shape decisions. Another part that we want to understand impacts of climate change on forests, with a particular focus on disturbances. So we want to develop next generation mapping approaches, focusing on disturbances, but also on composition and structure of forest. When we know these two elements, so the decision-making behavior and the climate change impacts on disturbances, we want to build this in and develop a next generation integrated assessment modeling framework that we can then eventually apply to quantify the effects of forest management actions on how they affect forests, but also how they contribute to climate change mitigation. This we then bring together with actions that we want to take together with stakeholders to define actions and policies that could be implemented, and then together with the stakeholders, quantify and evaluate these actions into policy pathways. After 1 year, I'm still as much as excited as I was in the very beginning, or even more excited. I think we are getting great results already coming out of the project. We developed already the first set of next generation maps on forest disturbances. We have prototypes already coming up of forest composition and structure maps. The project has completed a review of policies that currently exist and looked at how they are affecting climate change mitigation, climate change adaptation, and biodiversity. And lots of discussions have been started between all the partners, but also with other projects on how we can together do perhaps more than what we had planned initially. What I hope from ForestPaths to come out there, I think, are three important issues. First, I hope that our results have an impact on policy making, so that the solutions that we find within the project are really helping to shape actions that can be taken by policymakers to ensure that we are meeting the climate targets. The second one is that I hope we do great science, so that our results are highly cited in the international peer-reviewed literature. And the third one, which I think is perhaps even the most important, that we all look back at this project and we think this was a great project that we have been working into.